Welcome everybody, this is Matt from the Car Newsroom. And before we get started today, if you wouldn't mind to hit that subscribe button in the lower right hand corner. We're just starting this YouTube channel and would like to keep bringing you more information. So please give us a like and subscribe. Now let's get right into leasing. So we're talking car leases today. We're going to compare some leases to see if these leases are a good deal or not. How can you tell if your lease is a good deal? Is it if it's more per month than the other lease? Is it more upfront money? Make it a worse of a deal? How can you tell? Well, that's what we're going to cover today. I have one way of looking at all car leases to kind of compare apples to apples. So let's get into it. When you lease a car, there's a lot of different terminologies going on. You'll hear money factors, you'll hear residual values, you'll hear all sorts of different things, cost of capital. You don't have to worry about any of that the way we're going to look at comparing your lease today. So you only need four things to compare your leases to other leases when you're getting ready to do a lease. Upfront, how much you're going to pay upfront at signing, your monthly rate, the number of months the lease is for, and the number of miles allowed in your lease. So it's that simple. Just these four things. And what we're going to do with those four, we're going to plug that information into this Excel model. So if you don't have Excel, that's fine. I'll show you how to calculate this with just an ordinary calculator here in a minute. If you know how to use Excel, just build a quick Excel spreadsheet like this. So the first line is your lease rate. We've got car A, B, and C. You can see the lease rates for each car, $340, $340, and $399. Then you're going to put your number of months for the lease. In this case, it's 24, 36, and 36. Now this green field calculates 340 times 24, in this case 8160 for car A. For car B, it takes 340 times 36 is 12240. So if you don't have Excel and you got a calculator, all you got to do is say, hey, how much is the lease per month? How many months am I paying it? Calculate that in the calculator and then write that down. So in this case, we're going to write down, 12,240 off to the side. Then you're going to come up and see how many miles per month you are allowed in your lease. Most of them are going to be around 1,000 miles. So if that's what we assumed on these, yours may be a little less than that, could be a little more than that. Again, just plug the numbers in and have Excel do the work for you. So again, 1,000 miles per month times the number of months equals 24,000 miles. Car B is 36,000 miles and car C is 36,000. Then the other two bits of information if you need to know is upfront money. And your upfront money is how much you're going to pay at the beginning of the lease when you sign the lease. So it's going to include maybe a first month's payment. It could include taxes, some dock fees, some dealership fees, things like that. So just lump all that in there and put that in this line here. If you know the disposition fee of the vehicle, then go ahead and put that in as well. And then what we're going to do is we're going to add up all these dollar amounts. So for car A, we're going to add up the 8,160 and we're going to add 3,564 to it and $400 to it. So the total money out of our pocket for the lease vehicle for car A over 24 months, total cost for that 2 years for that vehicle is $12,124. The same for car B and car C. We're going to add the amounts up in green and then down here in yellow, and we come up to $7,340. So all we're doing is adding up every dollar you're spending on that lease over the term of the lease, the whole thing. So you take your number of payments times the number of months you're making that payment, plus your upfront money, plus your disposition fee. And then you're going to come up with the amount that you will spend over the life of that lease. Now, does that mean anything? Does that mean car A, if we look at this, car A is the better deal because we're only spending $12,000? Well, not necessarily, because car A, if you recall, we're only leasing that for 2 years. So what can we look at to determine and keep all this apples to apples? And the only way to do that is, you'll see it in the blue bar down here. It's cost per mile. How much are you going to be spending to drive that car every mile that you're allowed to during your lease? So what you're going to do to figure that out is you're going to take your total cash that you're spending over the life of the lease. So in this case, for car A, $12,124, divide it by the number of miles you can drive. So 12,124 divided by 24,000 equals 51 cents a mile. So now we know every time you drive that car, it's costing you 51 cents a mile. We're going to assume that you're going to drive the car for the full 1,000 miles, because if you don't, then you're just giving money away, because you're entitled to drive that car for the full 1,000 miles. If you only drive it 500 miles, then obviously this cost per mile is going to double. So you want to always drive your car the maximum amount of miles that you can drive, because they're not going to give you any money back if you drive less miles when you turn that car in. So once we figure up the cost per mile and we have this little formula built, you can key in the data for any cars and you can see which car is costing you less. So in this example, car C is our cheapest cost per mile, even though it's got the highest monthly payment of $399. And the reason it comes in lower on a cost per mile is because we're spreading all our payments across 36 months and we had a lower upfront money. Now, if you had a lease, in this case, that was 15,000 miles a year, as an example, that would be equivalent to 1,250 miles. So in this case, I change it, and you see our now if that was $399 a month, and you got 15,000 miles out of your lease, then your cost is going down to 37 cents. So obviously, you can play around with this model. If you don't have this model, that's fine. All you're doing, again, if you look down here, is total cash spent divided by total miles, and that'll give you your cost per mile. So you can just write that down if you need to. So that's how you can compare. The only other bit of information, once you've compared and you've come up with your cost per mile, if one car that you're looking at is a little bit more expensive cost per mile, you just have to ask yourself, is it worth it to me to drive this car at 10 cents more a mile than it is this car? But this will at least show you the absolute lowest dollars and break it down on a cost per mile basis, so you can see if one car is not even in the ballpark as far as a good deal or not. So I hope that helps you when you're looking at leases. It's a simple way to come up with a way to compare your leases apples to apples. So again, if you haven't subscribed already, please do so, and thanks for watching.